This January, our topic that we are exploring is intentions and alignment. Intentions and alignment. And specifically this week, what I had planned for a bit ago was to have a spiritual conversation around our words and alignment, intention, and envision, and what we envision, and how our words matter, why our words matter. So, isn't it interesting that this is really a collective conversation that has a lot of energy and a lot of power right now? In Unity, we know that our practice is about doing our own work and cleaning up our own stuff and getting in alignment with our intentions. And that when we do our own work, we add to the collective in a different way than when we stay asleep or when we just decide that everything else is about someone else outside of us and really has nothing to do with us, and that really the work we do doesn't impact the collective at all. But when we have a healthy spiritual practice, we know that everything that occurs on the external is an invitation to go into the internal today. So that's what we're here to do. So I have in front of me a whole bunch of books from my bookshelf. And it just seems relevant right now to just speak some of the titles. For the Love of God, A Healing Space, Oneness of All Life, Let There Be Light, Lovability, Everything is Waiting for You, Practicing the Presence, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, New Thought for a New Millennium, all of this, friends, is nothing if we don't take it to heart, if we don't become it, if we don't align ourselves, if we don't teach it, if we don't preach it, if we don't share it, if we don't stand for it, if we don't demand it, if we don't call it from the gut of our power, from the center of our strength, from the core of our being. So today is about our commitment. Let's look at our commitment. Let's look at our commitment to doing our work. Let's look at our commitment to showing up, because that's where our power is. In the book, New Thought for New Millennium, when I didn't just toss dramatically on the floor, it says this. I might not actually be able to even find it because I think when I picked it up, my little place marker came down. But it's a passage right before Robert Brummett's book. It did fall out, but still got the page. It's a passage right before Robert Brummett discusses power and spiritual power. And what a great teacher to discuss spiritual power, because Robert Brummett has a deep history and knowing of psychology, of Buddhism and Vipassana meditation, and of unity and new thought. But the preface to this chapter says this: without contemplation, the power of power, like life, is subtle enough for us to easily miss its meaning. At first glance, power is the equivalent of strength. And in the popular mind, they are understood that way. Yet true power has more in common with will. Power, according to Charles Fillmore, is our innate control over thoughts and feelings. This would link power to faith, the perceiving power. Yet the power itself is the distinct ability to choose whether we stay with a perception or allow that thought to enter the gateway of our consciousness. Whether we allow that thought to enter the gateway of our consciousness. In metaphysical Christianity and New Thought, the power of the word, whether thought or spoken, is considered to be the basis for all co-creation with God. I'm going to read that part again. The power of the word, whether thought or spoken, is considered the basis for all co-creation with God. So the power to choose our thoughts, to will our thoughts and feelings, is absolutely vital. It is how we choose our own reality. And it is how we choose finally to become completely whole and one with the Christ. I'm aware of the fact that I'm standing with my feet near my books, and we're reading about metaphysics, and the feet are about understanding. So it's like a little blessing down there by my feet right now that I'm standing. So any of you that are appalled by the disrespect of having books on the floor, you can just know that I'm being powered up by lovability, let there be light, oneness. In the book, The Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza, he says the first move necessary in fixing anything to understand is to understand what is presently not working. The first move necessary in fixing anything is to understand what is presently not working. You have the power to know what the problem is and then name it in order to have power over it. You have the power to know what the problem is and to name it in order to have power over it. So what happens with visions, intentions, and alignment? This month, we're going to be exploring our words, our thoughts, our actions, our heart, so we can look at how we sometimes stop short of demonstrating our visions, or how we're sometimes involved in things that we don't want to be involved in that end up resulting in things that we no longer want to have in our lives or to see in our external communities, and what we might be doing to fuel those things or to power up those things. Many of us have seen visions flop. Many of us have experienced visions flopping. Most of the time, it's an alignment issue. Most of us are unaware of how we are not aligning with our intentions. I'm going to say that again. Most of us are not aware of how we are not aligning with our intentions. An intention is just not something to have. A vision is just not something to hold. It is something to align with. We have to get our entire being in commitment to this vision. That means we have to do work. That means there's stuff that we have to clear out. That means we have to listen. We have to be vigilant about our mind, our thoughts, what we participate in, how we act, how we show up, what we are actually contributing versus what we think or what we say or what we want to contribute. So many people and many communities stay stuck with the impossibility of visions. Have you ever prayed with someone, and right after you pray with them or while you're praying with them, they counter it? That while you are holding a prayer, while you're opening the space, while you are clearing, they actually step in and solidify their intention and their alignment with the opposite of what the prayer is. You know, I was noticing, I'm a little wordsmither. I notice every word, and words matter to me. And I was just noticing as we talk about, praying, you can hear the words pray for you. We'll pray for you. No, we don't pray for you. We pray with you. There's no such thing as just praying for someone, because if you're in prayer with someone, you're holding a vision with them, right? That vision, hopefully, if you are in integrity, has to do with the vision they have for themselves, right? But you can't hold something for someone that they're not willing to grab onto. You can't hold a vision all around someone and just hold it so strong, no matter what is in your whole mind, feeling, emotional experience, whatever is your vision. I'm just going to hold this. I'm just going to press it into you. You hold prayer with someone, right? You hold prayer with them. And if we are open and our hearts are open to the full prayer practice and the full prayer process, then the highest consciousness in that prayer, the highest field, the highest vibration, the highest vision and idea will be the one with the power. And whatever the lesser or little thoughts or little selves or little ideas, whatever it is that is lesser, will surrender to the willpower of the greater idea. That's why in prayer we let go. That's why in prayer we let go into a consciousness that says the highest and the best, this or something better. That part that just allows our minds to relax and to release and to recognize we might not know what we think we know. There might be little places and spaces within our own psyche that we are actually a detriment to ourselves or others, and we are willing to release that. So our highest prayer, our highest energy, heart commitment becomes alignment in that moment. And where two or more are gathered in high and holy alignment, there in the midst is the power that is magnified and multiplied. We've often seen people with hopes of something, but actions that will never align them with getting there, right? Have you seen that? Have you seen someone with a lot of beautiful hope for something? They have an intention, they have a vision, but the way they're acting will never result in that coming into fruition. You know, it's like doing basic math. 1 + 1 is never going to equal 100. You're never going to be 100% there if you're putting something that is not aligned into that equation. And that is so often the case. So often we don't see our behaviors, or we don't call out the behaviors of others, knowing that they will never align with their vision. They will never result then in what they may be in their hearts truly intending, what we may be in our hearts truly desiring. And then we have people that speak, and we are all those people, right? Everything is someone else and it's us somewhere in our minds and our actions and our behaviors. But we have times when we say something, when we choose words and we say something, but our rant is aligned with the opposite. Our ranting, our talking is aligned with the opposite of our true intention. We even have sometimes, don't we, where we say some words, but they are so infused with will that they really mean something other than what we're saying. Anyone familiar with that? When you might say something, and it might be a high and a holy hope that you feel that way, but you might say something, words might fly out of your mouth, but you really mean something else. There's a part inside of you that is communicating something entirely different. You know what I'm saying? Anyone experience that within their own beings, or with someone else that they have in relationship, in community, in relation? I see hands going up. What happens when someone says something, but it is power-packed with will and intention that is not aligned with that word? What happens? I think we hear more, or we feel more, what people mean than what they say. If we're paying attention, if we're aware, I think we feel more what someone means. Now, some people might just take you at face value, take your words for what they are. But most of the time, if we have developed at all a sense of intuition and honored that, it becomes so crystal clear. You may even be in a room with someone and just be bombarded with a feeling that everything that's going on is not really what's going on. It's not what's going on. There's something else going on. And when you're on the spiritual path and when you have a spiritual practice, you learn to not only trust that feeling, but you learn to develop the courage to follow it and clarify, even to invite in accountability of yourself and of others. Now, that's an uncomfortable step for many. Many, when you get to the accountability piece, just go, But remember, intentions speak louder than words. And unless we're willing to clean up and clear up our words, we won't clean up and clear up our world. So, why do words matter? Think about that for a moment. Why do words matter? They matter, I think, because they have power. I also think they matter because, get this, once they leave our mouths, we have no control over their co-creative ability outside of us. We have no control over what someone's going to do with them. High schoolers commit suicide on a regular basis because of bullying and because of the words that people share with them. The moment they come out of someone's mouth, they can be used. People that are rejected by their families because of their lifestyle, their life choices, those words that are shared, you don't get to take them back. You can harmonize later, you can clarify, you can try to correct, you can try to heal. But once a word leaves your body temple, you don't get to decide how it operates. It's like, in fact, a little virus. It will go do the work that it does. And so it is so important for us to do the work of getting clear with our words, aligning with our own words, so that they really fulfill our intention. And also stepping into conscious communication, even if it's having courageous conversations with others. When we don't see alignment or when we feel something different as far as intention behind words. So let's talk about some practical applications. Some practical applications. When it comes to you, when it comes to me, when it comes to each one of us, can we ask ourselves, when we speak, when we choose our words, when we say things, what do I really mean? What do I really mean? And am I saying what I really mean? That's enough to chew on for the rest of the year. Am I really saying what I really mean? And how can I support myself in developing a spiritual practice around my words so I can check in to make sure I am saying what I really mean? It's going to take courage. It's going to take prayer. It's going to take mindfulness. Because sometimes we don't want to say what we really mean, or we don't want to deal with what is behind the words that we use. So what do I really mean? And the next question is, what is the intention behind my words? What is the intention behind my words? Because visioning and alignment is about bringing your words and what you really mean, the intention behind your words, into the same space as the words themselves, and making sure they're a match to the best of our ability. That also takes having a practice around a deep understanding that words don't mean the same thing to each one of us, right? So you could say one nasty thing to one person, and you know it could result in an absolutely devastating experience. And you could say it to another one, and you know they're going to laugh in your face, right? So it's not just about being clear with ourselves about our words, but it's being clear about the consciousness that we communicate with when we show up with our words. Yeah? And making sure that those words align with our heart and our intention. Not that they align with what I think I mean. Well, what I mean when I say this is exactly what I mean when I say this. And someone else is begging and saying, that's not what it means to me. It means this to me. Are we going to stand in our righteousness and say, I demand that you digest my word in the way that you like it? Or are we going to have mindfulness and look at the practice and have a conscious dialogue? Come to the space of alignment of intentions and look at the intentions and begin to clarify intentions. Remember, intentions speak louder than words. When it comes to interacting with others, can we step into our center of peace and have courageous conversations? Here are 3 questions that are practical questions that you might find that when this comes up for you, you hesitate, you may have fear around it, you may have dread, you may just skip over it. Your mind may go, I could ask that question, and you go, no, not right now, maybe next time. Let's pray a little more, let's work through a little more stuff, and maybe next time I'll say that. But when you hear something that's passive aggressive or that's filled with other meaning or that embodies something that you need to question, might you say, how do you want me to feel when you say that? And just stop. How do you want me to feel when you say that? How do you intend for me to experience what you just said? How do you intend for me to experience what you just said? Like, what would you like it to generate in me? Because I can share with you what it does generate in me. And the third question is, how would you imagine I would respond to that? How would you imagine I would respond to that? I was in a counseling session for a family dynamic that was up and dysfunctional and ready to have some attention quite some time back. And it happened after an argument and an incident, and both of us felt like we should go get some outside support. You know, we knew that we had kind of broken a glass ceiling, and the shards came down and did some shattering and did some slicing. And so we decided that together we should go get some support. And I came in the way I often do, just based on, you know, we all have our framework and our set of ways that we automatically respond or take responsibility or don't, right? So I came in feeling quite responsible, knowing the ways that I was a very bad girl, knowing the things that I did that I don't, in my own being, I don't get to make an excuse for it. I don't get to say it's because you, whatever. I just get to be accountable, right? And so I go into this conversation ready to take accountability and responsibility for my part. And the other person often is challenged, taking accountability, often is very challenged with giving an apology or, seeing where the error is on their side. But again, when you go into something doing your own work, that's not your business, right? It's not your business. So I went into this appointment, and after we shared the shattering, there was a moment of pause. And the therapist leaned in, and I thought for sure it was going to be a lean into me, like, you got to get some better help. You got to work on your stuff. You got to, because you got a problem. You know, the words that came out of her mouth, they were directed at the other person. And she said, what did you think was going to happen when you did that, when you said that? And there was silence in the room. There was shock. Like, me? This is what happened. How dare you? How could you ask me that question? And the therapist just went in for it again. What did you think would happen? And then went on to explain that the response that they saw from me, which was terrible, validly terrible, went on to say, that's what I would imagine would happen. I would imagine that would be an option for how someone would respond. And I just remember a chemical reaction in my body, just kind of messing with my mind and going, wait, also knowing that has nothing to do with me, but feeling just a deeper sense of groundedness, that I don't have to take responsibility for all of this, that someone else really does have some work to do at looking at what they intended to happen, what they thought might happen, how they may have been wanting to make me feel, even if it wasn't totally on the surface. So are we willing to do the deeper work? Are we willing to really look at it? To look at everything, to look at the communication, to look at ourselves, to see how we even bring, in that example, we bring guilt with us. Like, I go in and my hands are I'm already arrested. Like, I am clear. I am arrested. I put the ties on myself. Go ahead, give me the whipping. I'm ready to wake up. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I do this stuff again. How did I get myself into this situation? What it taught me, on a side note, is more about boundaries, more about acknowledging yourself and going, like, of course someone would respond like that. So then how do you not respond like that? Well, you don't keep engaging that type of situation, that type of behavior, that type of experience, right? And this is just kind of a side note, but based on what's happening right now in our world, what would you expect with the conversations going on and some of the engagements that are happening? What would you expect? You can't be a peaceful, nonviolent person and expect to put yourself in the midst of a violent experience and not be able to protect yourself or other people from the participation in violence. We are getting ready to kick off the season for nonviolence, and it is framed by the lives of Martin Luther King and Gandhi. It goes from January 30th to April 4th, and there is no doubt that the time is ripe for this practice, right? For this nonviolence practice. That the time is ripe for us looking at our words, because our words have power, our intentions have power, and most of us are not fully aware of the power they carry. And oftentimes we are, and we use them maliciously anyway. That doesn't mean we're not responsible. If you ask anyone who knows someone who committed suicide or someone who died after an argument, if words matter, the answer will be yes. Because they sit with whatever the last words were that they shared with that person. And it often haunts them like nothing else, because what they don't know is that they don't know what happened once those words launched from their lips. They don't know what was done with those words, what those words were used to create. So let us all give ourselves the gift, the real gift, the true gift of cleaning up our acts when it comes to our words, of getting the courage to say what we really mean. Even if it's scary, you can say, what I normally would say is this, but I'm trying to clean up my words, so this terrifies me. But what I'm going to tell you is what I really intend for you to get from this conversation is this. And it makes my skin fall off to even try to say it. Normally I would just say that, but I can't say that anymore. I have to find conscious, mindful words that align with my heart or my intention or my boundary crossing, whatever it is. Words, power, and will, those are the blueprint for co-creativity in the external. The external moves to paint the picture when we build the structure with our words. So we build the structure with our words, and the external starts grabbing the paintbrushes and filling in the spaces, flowering it out with color and experience and emotion. Faith is about being able to perceive something that's not here yet, something higher. And it's about investing in that higher perception, that higher vision, that higher intention. It's about investing in what we perceive. And then our work is to make sure what we invest in that, our belief, how we fuel it, is shaping substance in the way that our hearts desire, not in the way that our unhealed self or that our ego or that whatever it is within us that wants to stay divided or in conflict or wants to be passive aggressive or wants to be destructive to self or other, the way that wants to roll. And instead, getting in alignment, getting intentional, getting conscious. So working with the subconscious mind, working with the unintentional, and working with the ego. Because lip service is not enough. We have to have a mindfulness practice. So if you can't say something nice, it's not don't say anything at all. Say something mindful. Namaste.